So we're reading Last Dance with a Cowboy by Sara Richardson. Page 52 is where we stopped. Looks like you've still got it. Wes strode down the corridor between the stalls. I haven't been able to get Knievel to eat much at all lately. Mom's been worried about him. She said he's going downhill. Hard to believe he's almost 18. August set the now empty bucket aside, but the horse didn't move away. Instead, Knievel nuzzled his shoulder. That's more affection than I've gotten from him. His brother watched from a few feet away. When I try to get near him, he turns his head. He and I have always had a connection, likely because August had been the one to help his dad in here. He's definitely aged, but I think he's still got some life in him. Looking into the horse's eyes, August saw a spark. Well, this is the most he's perked up in a long time. His brother ambled to a shelf and found a brush. He could probably use a grooming. Who knows how long it's been? Sure, I'd be happy to. August took the brush from his brother and slipped into the horse's stall. Knievel stood taller, as though giving him permission to come close. August brushed the horse the way his dad had taught him. He missed this more than anything else at the ranch, tending to the horses. A few times over the years, he considered purchasing his own stock, but he'd never been home for a long enough stretch to make that happen. So I've noticed you haven't been spending much time with your fiancé. Wes leaned his arms over the stall gate. I thought you were supposed to be working at Valentino Bella's. Working there would be easy. Pretending to be engaged to Lila, however, made this the toughest assignment ever. I've been giving Leigh some space and catching up on reading assignment she'd given him. He finally finished pouring through the binders last night. Is that because she wants space or because you do? August shrugged, still working the brush. His brother had gotten nosy in his old age. Both, I guess. Being a Valentino, Bella brought up the memories he'd rather forget, kind of like being in this barn. It is tough seeing her after all these years, Wes pressed. The question made him pause. He let that brush fall to the side in his hand. Seeing Leigh again brings a whole new meaning to the word regret. Now that he had to face what he walked away from, how he changed the trajectory of their lives, he'd taken on a whole new burden. But she's been better off without me, I don't doubt that. Knievel whinnied and nudged August's shoulders, so he started to brush the horse again. How do you figure she's better off? West opened the stall gate and stepped inside next to him. August avoided his brother's gaze. I've never been good at keeping connections with people. He hadn't even stayed connected to his parents when he left for school. Shortly before his father's death, his mother had written him a letter telling him how much his dad missed him. It would help so much if you could call and talk with him a little more, she said. Knievel here hasn't been good at connection either. Wes gave the horse's muzzle a good scrub, but it looks like this might be changing. His brother walked out and started to open the stalls for other horses so they could lead them to pasture. Sometimes opening up just takes the right person. Leila stumbled to the coffee pot in the office and poured herself another cup, filling the travel-size mug all the way to the very top. There wasn't enough coffee in the world for a remedy of a week of sleepless nights. So far, she downed a whole mug of the dark Italian roast her grandmother received every month from her cousin in Trieste, and it hadn't made a dent in her exhaustion. She usually didn't have trouble sleeping. Growing up in a winery and a restaurant, she learned how to tune out the noise, but she still didn't know how to shut off her thoughts. And she happened to have a few things on her mind at the moment. Regina meowed and jumped up on the counter where they had kept the coffee pot plugged in, swaying back and importantly as she sniffed the rim of Leila's mug with an obvious distaste. Don't judge me, she rubbed behind the cat's ears. You don't know what it's like to lie to Nona and Papa. Having August in town. She likely wouldn't sleep for the entire fall season. Things are a mess, Kitty. She lifted Regina's into her arms. But you already know that. Why else would I have come here before 6 o'clock this morning? Typically, she preferred to ease into her day, maybe take a quick run around the vineyard before schlepping herself into work. But this morning, she didn't have the energy to exercise. Mercifully, she hadn't seen August since she managed to make it through the dessert with him. Nana and Papa, but that didn't mean their little ruse hadn't consumed her thoughts. It would be bad enough if she was only keeping the truth from her grandparents, but having to pretend with August, having to sit and listen to him explain why he never come back, had proven to be outright torture. It had taken her a long time to close that chapter on her dreams with August, and now he was back trying to rewrite the past. "Why does it still hurt so much?" she asked the cat, setting Regina down on the counter. It shouldn't. It had been years since August had walked away from her without a word, and yet one look at him was all it had taken to reopen the wound. Not that she would admit those feelings to anyone other than the cat. Leela took her coffee back to her desk and returned her attention to the database she created for their wine club members. Their rapidly diminishing wine club members. They lost more than 22 in the last 6 months alone, and they hadn't had many to start. This was exactly the kind of problem she needed to focus on right now to tune out many other plaguing her thoughts. We have to grow the club. Yes, she was talking to the cat, but right now Regina happened to be her only true co-worker. What would you think about? Across the room, the door handle jiggled and then clicked. Layla braced herself as the door opened and August stepped through carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Good morning." Damn those dark-fitted jeans of his, that button Henley, and that stretched out across his broad shoulders. Damn that appealing grin, which hadn't dimmed since high school. As always, her first instinct was to look away from him. "Morning," she said half-heartedly, refocusing on her computer screen in front of her. "I brought you a cappuccino from the cafe." He set it down on the cup of the corner. He set the cup on the corner of her desk like a peace offering. "Thanks," she said, have pure caffeine running through her blood by noon, but she wasn't one to turn down a good cappuccino. "No problem." The man backed away from her desk and immediately Regina approached him. "Hey, kitty." August knelt to pet her. Leela snuck a sip of her cappuccino, which was perfect balance of bitter and creamy. The cat doesn't really like other people. Right as she spoke the words, Regina proceeded to weave herself in between August's leg, rubbing up against him like the man was made of catnip. Seriously, why did the cat have to be such a traitor? Huh. August picked up the cat and Regina settled into his arms, gazing admiringly at his face while she purred him a love song. "She seems pretty friendly to me." "Well, she's not," Leela muttered. Most of the time, anyway. She hadn't realized her cat had a thing for cowboys turned wine aficionados. "So, what are you working on?" August wheeled over a chair and sat on the corner of her desk, still a few feet away, but too close for her liking, nonetheless. "I'm looking at the wine club." She pretended to study the information on the screen, even though she knew the numbers by heart. "Ah, yes, I read about the wine club in the binders." The teasing tone drew her gaze to his. "I see you have the same information on your computer." He was on to her plan to keep him occupied with light reading. Leela held her expression in check. "I just finished creating the database. Before this, all of our records were done by hand." "Yeah, I caught that." He leaned back and had the nerve to look casual. In contrast, every muscle in her neck had turned to steel. "You read through every binder already?" "Great. Now how would she keep him busy?" "It took me most of the week, but yes." August drank from his coffee cup, so he hadn't slept wet either. "Well, good." That made her feel a little better. "You could have just emailed me the documents." It seemed those endearing crinkles still formed in the corners of his eyes when something amused him. "Instead of sending me home with 50 pounds of binders to read through?" "I'm not completely finished with the electronic copies yet." She hadn't had the time to go back and proofread them. Besides, it was important for you to see where we're coming from here. How far we have to go to run this place like a real business. "You're off to a good start." He stood and leaned over the monitor to look at her computer screen. "Too close." Leela inhaled that subtle scent of his cologne. Oaky, like the wine barrels they used, familiar and delicious. She scooted her chair back. "Anyway, about the wine club. That's going to be our biggest tool for growing business." August shifted into his chair, taking the alluring scent with him. "Those are your loyalists, your partners, not only in purchasing your wines, but also getting their friends to purchase." "Right," she blinked at the screen, trying to keep good gravy, my eyes are getting tired, I guess. Trying to bring her fuzzy thoughts into clarity. We've never been proactive about our wine club. It's always been an afterthought than anything. Her grandparents were far too humble to continually promote themselves, even to their regular customers. You have quite a few contacts with people who have visited or come to a tasting. August picked up the cat who had been meowing at his feet again. So here's what I'm thinking. His eyes had always lit with a certain energy when he had a good idea. And they still had that power to draw her into his plans. We'll have a big event for the wine club members in October. We'll make a whole weekend of it with free tasting and a banquet. He rose from the chair and paced, still cradling the cat in his strong arms. Once upon a time, that had been her favorite place to be, wrapped up against him, so close she could hear his heartbeat. My mom said the ranch is free that weekend, no wedding, so we can offer a package deal that includes lodging if they're interested. We can also partner with some of the other bed and breakfasts and hotels in nearby towns for a special rate. Her exhaustion set in again. Leila picked up her cappuccino to ward off the fatigue. Forget her plain coffee. That cup August had brought happened to be exactly what she needed right now. Not that she would tell him that. An event sounds great, but we don't have the budget or manpower to pull off something like that. August had been in Napa too long. The money probably grew on trees or vines. As you saw in the binders, we're hardly scraping by right now, so I have my own Kingston budget for things like this. He let Regina jump out of his arms and onto the desk and dug his phone out of his back pocket. We have plenty. Trust me. Whenever we do events like this for Kingston, we get a huge response, a very nice bump in our numbers. Leila watched him continue to move around the room as he worked on his phone, his magnetic energy on full display. As much as she would like to be, she wasn't immune to his intensity. August had been passionate when he was younger. He seemed that he still was. Forrest shouldn't pay for this event. She was supposed to prove that she could manage business on her own. Her best case scenario was that she would improve their bottom line, so Forrest would leave her alone and let her continue running the winery the way her family had wanted. August halted with an abrupt pause. Kingston is now a partner of Valentino Bella's, he said slowly. You signed the paperwork. That means that you can use resources at your disposal. Except for the fact that she never wanted to be dependent on a man again. Leila stood. That doesn't mean you can come in here and take over. This is exactly what she had been worried about. Why she had her lawyer spell out the agreement in contract that she signed. If I increase the profit margins by 30%, we retain majority ownership, which means we can make the decisions. We keep our brand, and hopefully she would eventually be able to buy out Kingston's share and send them packing. His shoulders slumped. 30% is a lot. It doesn't matter, she interrupted before he could tell her how absurd this agreement was. I will make this work. I will increase the profits, and I will save this place for my grandparents. She didn't give him a chance to argue. I won't rely on some big budget to do an event. Everyone loves my grandparents. I'm sure the town will help pull this together, and she would do it with or without August's help. Fine. August's eyes had dulled. Then what do you want me to do? You can call around to some rental companies and get some large canopy tents donated. Tell them we'll advertise their business so it's a win-win. As much as it killed her to be with him, to spend time alone with him, he promised to help, and she had to let him. I'll work on an email to our wine club members. We'll have to get that out ASAP. And then I'll meet with Sam and our chef about a menu. The one good thing about this event was that they would likely both be busy, so no one would wonder why they weren't going on dates and spending late mornings together in her cottage. That would make it much easier to hide their secret. Sounds like a plan. If you focus on the food and the communication, I can work out the lodging specials with the businesses in town, too. He typed something into his phone before looking up at her. Her heart swelled. Then that look right there. He'd given it to her before. Any time he'd been proud of her or impressed by her. You're right, Leigh, he murmured. This town loves your family. I'm sure everyone will pull together to help. For the first time in months, hope lifted in her heart. This was what she'd been missing, a big enough base of support. But if this event worked, she could prove to Forrest they still had a strong enough backing to survive. I'll start on the invitation. She sat down at the desk and clicked around on the computer to run a merge of email addresses for anyone who joined their mailing list or stopped in for a tasting. What should the theme be? When August didn't answer right away, she looked up and found him sitting in the chair near her desk again. Another memorable expression on his face stilled her hands. Excuse me. Oh. This was how he used to look at her right before he'd kiss her. Eyes darkened, slightly narrowed, lips parted with a hint of a smile that made her tingle with anticipation. God, when he kissed her back, it had been like the whole world had faded around them. Reunion, that should be the theme. His smile grew. Do you remember that project we did together from our marketing class your junior year? She hadn't meant to look deep into his eyes, to lean forward slightly, but now it was all too late to protect her heart from the inevitable free fall. We had to think up a project and come up with a marketing plan, he went on, as though he really believed she might have forgotten. You convinced me to help you design a new and improved bra. Hey, that was the best idea in the class. She had to laugh too, for their project had taken on of her regular bras and one of her sport bras and patched them together to create the ultimate hybrid deluxe 2000 bra. You know why we won the contest, don't you? She asked. Because you modeled the bra for the whole school. After his modeling debut, every girl in their school said that she would buy the bra. It was a brilliant marketing strategy. August shrugged off the praise. We made a good team. I still can't believe you wore that bra on the outside of your shirt all day. She laughed again, remembering how he even kept it on during their gym class. He had the whole school talking about their product within an hour. That was a gutsy move. I would have done anything for you, Leela. The sincerity in his tone immediately changed the air between them, chasing away her levity, her smile. That was dangerous territory. Remembering their best moments, staring into each other's eyes, sitting close enough that their chemistry crackled between them. I need to work on the email, she stammered, gluing her gaze back to the laptop. There really isn't much time to make plans, and we need a good turnout. We should let people know about the event as soon as... The door opened, mercifully cutting off her stumbling words. Nana! Leila popped up out of her chair. Good morning. She realized she sounded overly happy to see her grandmother, but she couldn't help it. Alone time with August had proven to be a problem. How are you? She hurried over to the coffee pot to pour out her grandmother a cup. When she turned around to present the coffee to her Nana, she shot her a quizzical look. I'm fine. Is everything all right with you? Wonderful, Layla handed the mug. Never been better. August and I are working on a big event to grow the wine club. She rushed back to her desk and managed to get settled again without looking at the man once. That's a marvelous idea. Her grandmother sat in the chair next to August. I can't wait to hear more about it, but first I was hoping you two could come with me to the Apple Fest in town today. We signed up to host a booth for a few hours. The what fest? Instead of simmering like they had been moments before, August's eyes were full of confusion. Layla laughed. She couldn't keep all the small-town celebrations straight either. There are always some festival going on around Silverado Lake. The Apple Fest. Her grandmother had laid a pamphlet on the desk. It's a pre-harvest celebration for the orchards, and it's such a wonderful time. We like to go support them and chat with anyone who might be interested in the winery. I'm sure I mentioned it to you, Layla. She probably had, but Layla had been preoccupied with other things lately. Oh, right, I did hear something about the Apple Fest, August said. My brother and Thea are taking the kids. Yet another reason she and August should stay away. The whole town would be there. Nana would make sure to spread news of their wedding like a wildfire. Isn't Papa going to help you? She made sure to tap her fingers across the keyboard and look very busy. This event is going to take a lot of planning. Her grandmother scoffed. Papa and Sam are busy obsessing over when to start the harvest, but I would love to attend with both of you. She smiled sweetly. Nothing would make me happier. It would be the perfect chance for you two to do some networking for the winery anyway. I don't know. The last thing she wanted to do right now was make a public appearance with her fake fiancé, but she'd always hated disappointing her grandmother. We have a lot of work to do here. You'll always have a lot of work to do here, Nana said. Sternly, that's something you two are going to have to balance when you run this place together. There will always be work, but sometimes you have to put it aside to focus on each other. You have to go looking for the fun moments, the moments of togetherness and reprieve. You have to protect your love at all costs, or you will lose it. Their love had already been lost, but she couldn't tell her grandmother that. August gazed at her, obviously putting the final decision in her hands. We'll only be gone a few hours. Nana rose from her chair as though they had already agreed. And besides, it might be a good chance to start getting the word out about this event that you two are planning. Still, August held off responding, letting her decide. What chance did she have? Okay, sure, we'll go. But if August looked her way, if August looked at her the way he had 5 minutes ago, she would have had to find a way to escape. Chapter 7. August loaded the folding table and small portable canopy into the back of his truck and shut the tailgate. Eyeing the office door, he checked the time on the phone. They were already running late. Nana said setup for the booth was supposed to be done by 8:30, and Leila seemed to be stalling. He couldn't tell what she dreaded more, spending time with him or making their first public appearance in town as a couple. Damn, he kept messing things up. He hadn't meant to bring up the past again, but when he let himself think back to the time they shared, his guard came down and he started confessing things like, "I would have done anything for you." The statement couldn't have been more honest. Back then he lived to make her smile, to make her happy, to cheer her up, to be her best friend. But that didn't mean Leila wanted to hear those words from him now. They had lost all the credibility around her, and the last thing he wanted to do was make her uncomfortable. That meant he had to get a handle on those unguarded moments and stop getting swept up into the past. Leila and Nola finally emerged from the office, each carrying a small box. "Look at what my talented granddaughter came up with for this invitation." Nana held out the box for him to see. "We were only going to print 100 before we ran out of ink, but I think it's a good start." "It looks amazing, especially for less than half an hour of work," but then Leila always had that unique blend of practical business smarts and creativity. He studied the card's intricate scroll design. "You're invited to a family reunion." The invitation began before going into more details about the event. "I love it. That's the perfect message to send." "It was your idea," she muttered before stepping past him and climbing into the truck's passenger seat. Chuckling, Nana leaned in and whispered, "Did you two get enough sleep last night? She seems a little cranky today." Back in the day, he'd definitely been the reason Leila missed out on a full night's sleep. One of their favorite things had been sneaking out to camp under the stars, but Leila had never been cranky the next morning, at least not with him. She'd been sleepy and smiley and content. These days, though, he did seem to make her cranky. She probably stressed out about the event. He opened the back door of the extended cab and helped her climb in. "Being stressed is all the more reason for you two to take a break this morning," Nana said when he got into the truck. "Whenever I feel the stress of running this place, I always go into town so I can remember why I'm here, to be a part of the community, to bring people joy. There's more to running a business than managing the details." Very true. August started the engine and drove them down the winding road, turning up the radio to take the edge off of his pretend fiancé's silence. The music didn't stop Nana. "It must be such a treat for the two of you to be back in Silverado Lake together, reliving all the memories you two made here." "Mm-hmm," August murmured. The memories they were both trying so hard to avoid. He turned the music up and hummed along to Alan Jackson, with Nana joining him in for a few bars, but the reprieve didn't last long. Once on the outskirts of town, she started in again. "I still remember that incredible date you took Leila on your senior year." Nana leaned over the seat. "Remember, sweetie? You told me all about how he took you on that bike to the waterfall and made you a picnic." Leila didn't turn around. "Yes, I remember." "You told me it was the best night of your life," her grandmother said wistfully. "And now here you are with so many best nights ahead of you." August snuck a peek at Leila's face. Her jaw had gone rigid. "There won't be much time for the extravagant dates in the next few months," she said, her gaze directed out the window. "There's too much work to be done." We'll see about that, Nana harumphed with a nudge into August's shoulder. Augie is too much of a romantic to let you become a workaholic. Wow, what do you know? We're already at the park. He pulled up the truck into a spot near the grassy area where people were setting up canopies and booths. You two show me where you want to set up and I'll get everything unloaded. He quickly got out of the truck and opened Nana's door for her, giving her a hand to climb out. Before he could make it to Layla's side, she already hopped down herself. We should set up near the pavilion. She walked past him. I can help you unload. Sounds good. He pulled down the tailgate. While Nana directed, he and Layla unloaded the table and tent, their supplies and the handouts. The work kept them both busy maneuvering around each other, maintaining a healthy distance. When they were finding the setup, his sister's friend Beth came running over. August, Layla, congratulations, you two. She gave them both hugs. I heard about your engagement at the cafe, but Jane won't say a word about the details. Well, you know, we're taking things slowly. Layla started to smooth a white cloth over the table. Slowly, Beth laughed. No one even knew you were back together, and now you're engaged? Don't get me wrong, I couldn't be happier for you. Married life is amazing, such an adventure. Beth had gotten... Oh, I'm sure it is. August moved to the other side of the table and helped Leela straighten the winery's branded poster on the easel. Beth had gotten married almost 2 years ago. Her wedding was what had brought Jane and Toby together. He still envied both of his siblings for how they seemed to have gotten past their issues to find happiness with the ones they loved. When's the big day? Beth asked, still hanging around. Oh, we're not sure. His pretend fiancé unpacked a stack of the invitations and arranged them on the table. There's no hurry. August wondered if Beth knew Leela well enough to read her the way he could. Right now, Leela's shoulders were tense, her eyes were downcast, and her movements stiff. She didn't like lying any more than he did, especially to friends and family. Well, be sure to let me know. Clearly, the woman hadn't picked up on Leela's discomfort. The cafe would be happy to help you cater if you're planning the wedding here, which I assume you are. Actually, we might elope. August stepped in between the two women to give Layla's reprieve. Seriously, Beth gasped. How romantic. If I had to do it over again, I would elope. Weddings are great and all, but they're a lot of stress. Exactly. August glanced at his pretend fiancé, who had stopped organizing things to watch him. Why go through all the planning and ritual when you can just sneak away to a beach together? Isn't that the best part about getting married anyway, being together? It totally is, Beth agreed solemnly. Oops, I better get back to my booth. See you two later. As the woman jogged away, Leela approached him. You would want to elope if we were really getting married? Heck yeah, it wouldn't be the same big performance. He could admit Jane and Toby's wedding was fun, but putting on a big show was mainly for everyone else. I'd invite my siblings and Mom, of course, but I wouldn't be interested in orchestrating some big spectacle for an audience. For once, he couldn't tell what she was thinking. I mean, I would be open to doing whatever my fiancé wanted, but the most important thing to me would be time together to focus on the marriage. She said nothing, but her lips curved into a small smile. And we're about to lose the phone, so we're going to have to stop here on page 67. And I'm marking our spot. So don't you guys go anywhere. I'll be back soon.